I literally just set this account up. And this is the first thing that you would see when you've got your account, you've logged in, you see an organization. And so what I'm going to do in this is I'm just going to speak about the functions that you can see and not necessarily go into detail about how to use those functions, but just very broadly what they do. And so that then you can go back to the calls that Blue has, and you'll go into detail about how it all works. But when we look at this page, it's intentionally kind of very plain and simple. What we have up here is our account and the billing information, and so you can see who you're logged in as. Organizations are a way of keeping events grouped together, so you can have as many events as you like in organizations, and generally it'll be 3 organizations that you can have. An organization, as we'll see here, if I click on the organization, it's now going to show me what's in here, and here's all my events. Okay, so there's no events created yet. When I look at my options up here for the organization, there's events, there's the team. So who do I want to get access to the admin of Obvio? And add-ons is where you're paying for more attendees and buying more active Zoom rooms, things like that. And the settings is where we would set things like our communication for being able to send out emails. What's the email address you want to send out from? Things like that. So what we do is we start a new event. So we're going to put an event name. The unique URL. So this is what, as you can see, if you look in the, if you looked on the dashboard that you just came in, you'd see update .obv.io. So the update was this part here. So I'm going to choose whatever I want. Something like that. Then you can choose, this is a newer feature, but you can choose which domain name you'd like at the end of that. And so this can be kind of fun. This is the address that's going out to everyone, and so you might want to choose one of those that relates to what your particular event is. The event time zone is used throughout the platform, and this is particularly helpful when you're working across multiple time zones, like I am inevitably always. So you can say that any time that appears throughout the admin is going to be in this time zone. And so you can say, let's declare this now, that the event time is in this time zone, and now we'll refer to that always. The start and end time of your event is specifically when you'd be using Zoom. So it's the window that you would want to be using Zoom through Obvio. So it's how we kind of set up our licensing and how it all works to talk to Zoom. There isn't really a limit on this. You might be running an event that goes for a month, and that's every second day for a month or something. Then you can put those times in here. You can say when it'll start, and you can put however long you need. So your dashboard that's connected to this event is available from the moment that you've set it up, regardless of this start and end time, and is available throughout your event and after your event. For as long as you have an active subscription with Obvio, you're able to use those dashboards, and your attendees can come back and see those dashboards. Let me think here for a second. So where am I? Here we go. All right, now I want to just set this. They're like, he's in the future. It's true, I am in the future.
Yes, can you tell us how Thursday is so far? We're all wondering if Thursday is going to be a good day. Is Thursday going to be a good day?
It's a good day, and actually it's great weather as well. It's really warm, so that should be fine for everyone. No matter where you are, you should get the same weather as I'm having now. The expected number of attendees is just an indicator. We're not holding you to it. It's just it just comes in our system, and it's something that we're able to track. If you put 10,000 in here, we might be like, okay, let's put out a few more virtual seats on our server. Generally, it's just okay. I'm expecting 50 people. The default, the attendee default password is something that you probably won't need to use, and I'm not going to go into great detail now because we have much better ways of handling how people can get in. But let's just call it an advanced feature for now that you don't need to worry about. Okay, so Fave icon is the little icon that sits in the top on the tabs that you can see in the browser when people save it as a bookmark. That's the little icon, so you can upload a custom one of those. And the logo is what would appear back on the event website, the organization listing. You'd see the logo for the event, and so that's an easy way to be able to see the differences there. So then I just hit create, and now here's still my organization, and I can see the event that I just created. So now we step in. So now you have an option as to what theme you'd like to use, what template you'd like to use for the dashboard. And you're seeing sort of examples of the different ones there. So when you go to choose one, you can say, give me a completely empty template, or give me one that's got a whole bunch of demo data in it, so that it's sort of easier for me to see how it's laid out, and you can play around with real data then as far as getting that going. And so I encourage you, remember that you can have as many events as you like. And so I encourage everyone, ideally what you might do is actually create a demo of each one of these themes and mess around with them a little bit, because then you'll really get a sense of what each one can do and how it lays out and how it might work for you. You can have sort of a sandbox of your own that you can play around with and say, yeah, this is the one that I want. I'm just going to choose. Actually, I'm going to choose classic because it's my first love. So this has gone ahead and created that theme and the demo data, and now we're seeing this menu on the side here for our event. So just very quickly, the settings was where we were before. So that's the settings that we created the event. We can make some changes there. Statistics tells us about who has come to the dashboard, how many attendees have you got total, and things. You can see different steps along the way and how many are live in Zoom at the time. That template, we have a way of being able to change the template, although just tread carefully with that, because there's some content panels that might not are not compatible to move across. So there's things that you might lose in the process. It's better to decide on the template that you want and then move forward just with that template. So that's in the event. The check-in this is when we start to think about what's the process that we want people to go through before they get to the dashboard. The password was something that I was talking about before as a default password. Generally now we are not needing to use the password, and as I said, I'll call that an advanced feature. Blue goes into that more in the walkthrough. So for me on this one, I'm just going to skip it. I'm going to disable it so that there's no password required. We then go to a waiver, and so I think you might have seen it on some events where you need to have all of your attendees sign a waiver, and that can be both.
They all just actually had to sign the waiver and actually we asked you a couple of questions at that step, right? So that is a step that you guys actually all saw and can be customized.
There we go. And so
And it's
you
optional,
can, yeah, it's
which is pretty cool. Sorry.
totally optional, and it sounds legal. It sounds like a legal thing, and it can be, but it also can just be a step that you want people to acknowledge something before they get to your dashboard, and it just happens once. They sign it, and away they go. I'm also going to disable that, and then we have the tech check, and so this is I think a really cool feature that we've really had from day one, and that was to get people checked and to have a human touch before they even get to the dashboard. And so this is a way of handling how people get into the tech check that'll come up with this screen, and it'll say complete my check-in. That would take them into a Zoom meeting, which is always a shock and a surprise, I think, for people. And they really love it that they actually get to speak to someone. It's like walking up to the registration desk. So that's what that tech check thing. I'm disabling that as well. All right. So then we get to the design, and now here is the dashboard editor. I'm not going to go into all of the ins and outs of this because Blue also does a great job of that. But you'll see, if we were to think about the absolute bare minimum of creating an event and testing it and making it happen, what we need is a button to get into Zoom. And here in the demo data that was put on this template, we already have a button called Main Stage. And so we're going to come back to this in a moment once we've set up our area, our Zoom room, and we're going to connect it to that button and we can see how that works. Global styles, once again, very straightforward as to how the colors work and font family and things like that works across multiple pages. And we start looking at how we can customize the login page. That was, again, tied to the password. Most of the time, people are going to bypass this page altogether. Same as how you entered this meeting. You clicked a button in the email or the link, and it took you straight to the dashboard as a magic link that bypassed the login. You didn't need to put your email or password in. Sign up is a little bit different. We do use this, particularly for free events, where you can send this link out to everyone, and they will just come and put their first name, last name, and email. That goes ahead and creates an attendee in the system and takes them straight to the dashboard. And so that's what sign up is. Forgot my password. Once again, more related to password, change password. Lots of events, as I keep saying, lots of events we run now with no need for anyone to mess around with passwords. The offline page is something that you can do once your event's done. You can turn off your event page and you can customize this. And you can make your dashboard offline. So now people will come and see this page, and it could just be information that the event has now finished and the next one is XYZ. Or you can even divert or redirect your dashboard link to go to somewhere else, like your marketing site or something that's talking about your next event. That's what that's about. Form reports is when we specifically, this is the ability to have people fill out forms throughout your event and then have them generate a report of their own form responses. And so you could think that they might have stepped through a series of forms and they entered some data in there, and then right at the end of the event you're saying, hey, can I get all that data back and have that as one export as a PDF? Then that's what this is about. Scripts is a really powerful advanced feature for being able to add extra things like a live chat bot, for example, where you might want support. You have your own support team. You want to use a Zendesk little live chat bot. Then this is the place that you can add a script. You can put in the code. You might need some help with that, but there's ways of doing that. Another thing we've used, live chatbot is the most common one that we've used for people having support, and it's particularly good being able to add it sort of on a login page or a sign up page where people might be having some problems and they're not yet on the dashboard. You could add a little Zendesk or livechat.com we use a lot. and that's a way of doing support for your event. Okay, so that's design, and we go to features, forms, as we talked about before. The ask a question button on the dashboard that you're on now is using a form, a very simple form that's just ask what the question is and the organization of the event. You can also do much more complex forms. I'll just tease you with this because it's something that, again, Blue goes into deeply. Oops. And so you can see the types of sort of questions. I'll just show you here the types of different questions that you can put in a form. This is really handy too, because when you are asking people for their data in a form throughout your event, when you export that, then you're getting sort of registration data as well, like the first name, last name, email. They don't have to enter that. We already know who they are on the dashboard. So that's forms. Back here, we have a speakers page. On this template, we get a speakers page that's separate to the dashboard main page. So you can edit that up. Sponsors, similar sort of thing where you can have sponsors, and you can put different buttons in that goes off to people, the sponsor's website, for example. Sponsors, these speakers and sponsors page can be kind of used in different ways as well. They don't have to be specifically for speakers and sponsors. We've seen people use them for all sorts of different things, and you can add different buttons for that. One of the things that we do, just as an example, on some events, we have booths that we run during the lunch break, for example. And so now our sponsors can come in and have a booth, which is just another Zoom meeting, and they're able to meet with people during the lunch break. And that works really well. Okay, FAQ, frequently asked questions. It's just the ability to handle that, have that all on this page. Very simple. Zoom backgrounds. One of my pet hates is virtual backgrounds, but it does actually work. It works quite well with lots of attendees. When you're looking at the backgrounds, you can see that, and so you can upload your own custom Zoom backgrounds for people to use, your attendees to use. There, they download them and then use them. Image entries is this is where we saw the waterfall. Where people were doing submissions. If you happen to see TVE at the TVE event, there was a time asked for being able writing out your date and then taking a photo of yourself, a selfie, with the date written, and then uploading that. They would get uploaded. This is kind of the moderation page where you'd see all those images and you'd say yes, no, nope, definitely don't want that one. And then yes, and so you can go through, and that's where you're accepting images. Translation is an advanced feature, but it's the ability to have different, specifically different languages, text languages throughout your dashboard. So it's possible to have different languages, and that is a manual process at the moment, meaning that there's no automatic Google Translate or anything built in. We've specifically built it so that you would say, these are the words that I want to use for this language, and these are the words I want to use for this language, and you can build that out. So it's there. All right. Another really key area is the attendees, because you really need to have your attendees in. And we'll talk in detail about how you can get your attendees in, but generally there's a few different ways. You can manually enter it like this. You can import it through a CSV file, and you can do an integration, and you'll see that in a moment. You can integrate it with other CRMs that will do that automatically. While I'm here, I'm just going to set one up. That's all that you need. The bare minimum that you need for an attendee is first name, last name, and email. And so now in my event, I've got one attendee ready to go, and you'll see that there's the magic link. It's already there. And if I click this button, you're welcome. That was my idea to have that button. I'm quite proud of that. You'll now see that I'm logged in as Homer Simpson, and I've gone straight to the dashboard because I've turned off all those other features of the password and the tech check and the waiver. It's all turned off, and I'm going straight to the dashboard. So you can see that I'm seeing now the dashboard as Homer Simpson would see it. All right, I'm going to keep stepping through services. So you can see here a bunch of different services that we have created as custom integrations directly with these 7. And then we have Zapier, which kind of covers probably most of the rest of them. Very, very quickly, the way that we work with other services is that we're saying somewhere you've got an attendee, you've got a first name, last name, and email that exists in some other service, and at some point you're going to say, I want to create an Obvio attendee, and then I want to get the magic link back. And that, in the simplest form, is what the integration does, where you're saying, here's my person who's just signed up, for example, in Keep, and now I want to send that over to Obvio, first name, last name, email, and then I want Obvio to give me the magic link back, and I'm going to store that in my CRM so that then I can send that out as an email, and they'll get the magic link. Zapier
So
does
just
that.
can I just really quickly give you guys a real world example, because some of you may be like, what did Grant just say? I think it was English, but on some level, it's a language that I don't fully understand, and I would love to know what the F he's talking about. Okay, so you guys know this week, during TVE, during the event, we would send you an email. And in that email, you would have a link that you could click. And when you clicked, you got to the dashboard. And Obvio, all of the dashboards are what we call, you can call them a couple different things. Some people call them gated. Some people call them like password protected, right? So oftentimes I'll refer to a dashboard as a short-term membership site for your live event. But essentially in order to access the dashboard, it requires you to log in. But just out of curiosity, who already has more than enough username and passwords that they have to remember? Yeah, right. And you sign up for something, and 10 seconds later you're like, unless maybe you use like 1Password or one of the password managers. But I know this happens to me all the time. I sign up for something, I forget which of my 4 email addresses I used to actually sign up for it. And worse yet, I forget which of the 5 passwords that I rotate through when I'm not using my password manager to actually sign up. And like 10 seconds later, I'm using the forgot my password feature, asking for a link. Has this happened to anybody? Am I like the only one that this happens to? Okay, no, this happens to everybody. So in order to make all of our lives easier, and most importantly, in order to make it easier for our attendees to get into the platform, we've created these magic links, right? We call them magic. Somebody else invented that term. I'm borrowing it. I'm sure it's probably copyrighted or something, but we created these magic links, and in Obvio, every single user has a unique login URL. But a lot of you already use another platform to email your attendees, right? So in our case, we use a platform called Keep. And we needed a way to pull that login URL out of Obvio and put it into Keep. So when I send you an email from Keep, I can insert. You know how you can, who uses a CRM right now, like some sort of thing to email your list? You know how when you send an email to a lot of people, you can just put a little merge code and it says, hi, Blue, hi, Mary, hi, Grant, hi, Vanita, right? You don't have to write 50 emails. You just have to write it once and it changes it for you. Well, you can, using that same tool, you can, for most platforms, embed any piece of information into an email. In our case, what we wanted to allow you to embed was the login URL that is unique to each attendee. So I didn't have to sit through and, create 882 emails every single time we sent you guys a link to come join us on the dashboard. I was able to just merge, kind of like a first name, that login URL from within Keep. That was done with this service integration. It took me all of about 13 seconds to connect Keep and Obvio because we make it super easy. And if you use one of these other services like MailChimp, HubSpot, High Level, ActiveCampaign, ConvertKit, or Ontraport, we can connect with your CRM as well. Now, there are other CRMs out there. We are constantly adding to this. If you don't see the product that you use on this, email us. We would love to know which product it is because we are constantly adding to it. But in the meantime, there's a platform called Zapier, which allows you to really connect two different platforms together without having to have code without having to know how to code JavaScript and HTML and all sorts of, and know what APIs mean and so on and so forth. It allows you to really easily connect two different platforms. And Obvio, we have done the heavy lifting to give you what's called native integration with Zapier. So that's what services are. If all of that, hopefully that helped to explain it a little bit. But for us, in a real world example, every time you got an email, we were using Keep to send those emails for TVE. So I'll pass it back to you.
Nice. I was worried that I was going a little bit too detailed on some things, and now Blue just made me feel better. But it is a key. It's a key feature. Like a key thing is, how do you get your attendees into Obvio? And so integrations is a really key thing, because you might already have CRM, you've got your list managed somewhere else, and you want to be able to tie it over here. That's the way you can do it. But just to reiterate, you don't need to have any of these services in order to use Obvio, as you could see in the way that I just created one manually by typing in Homer. And so you want to do an event with 10 people, you totally could just sit here, write those 10 people in, send them their links, and you're ready to go. So you don't have to stress. It's just that what you'll find with everything that we do with Obvio is that we see that if it works big, it works small. And so you'll be aware that we run large events, where we've had 30, 40,000 people all in Zoom and all using one Obvio dashboard. All the functionality that it was used to make that work can work for your event with 10 people. And so that's why there's always these things where it's like, okay, that can scale and that can go bigger and whatever it is. Native integration is just where we have gone and built directly. So if we Keep, for example, we have worked with their API, and we're talking directly in the language that they want us to talk to them in to be able to handle that. The indirect, non-native, is like Zapier. And Zapier is an intermediary where we're saying, hey, something's talking to Zapier, Zapier is talking to us, we talk back to Zapier, Zapier talks back to the other system. And that can work quite well, but there's just some efficiencies and some specific things that we can do when we do those native integrations where we're talking directly to the service. All right, that's services. Then we get to points. Points is the gamification or funification. And so that's where you can assign, as you can see here, on this default, there was a bunch that have been set up, and so that you can add points. People can get points, and then you can have a leaderboard, and people can see. It never ceases to amaze me how well it works. That people really do engage with it, because I always just think, oh man, it's just not worth it or whatever, but it really is. And what it makes people do is click on every button on the dashboard because they start seeing that they're getting points, which is a really great thing for getting, if you've got sponsors and you want people to download a particular thing, it's a great way to encourage people to see the whole dashboard. So that's points. Labels is the ability to append a word, an emoji, something at the end of people's names in Zoom. So you're able to say, for example, in this one, we could have said everyone that has just signed up to Leap, we could append Leap in their name in Zoom, and now we would see everyone that signed up to Leap. We've used this in lots of different ways. It's very powerful where we've put emojis, for example, based on registration data or data that we've imported. We could say, we know that this person is a VIP. And so they've got a little star emoji at the end of their name. And now everyone, at least a part of your team, knows that if there's a star, then they're a VIP. You can also append a data field. And so as an example, on an event I ran, I imported everyone's state and country code and made that one field. And then I added that as a label to the end of their name. And so now I could run down the list and I could see state and country of everyone. And it was just a really handy thing to be able to call on someone and just know that they're from this particular country, or it gave me some extra context. And just one other idea on that is I also did an event with lots of doctors, but they were all in different parts of their career. And so there was interns, and there was registrars, and there was, all these professors, right? And so we added sort of their title in a way, or the classification for them. And that was really handy too for when they were asking questions. Immediately, just in chat, there was a question that would come up, and you would know whether they were an intern or, whatever they were. And that would give you just a little bit of context in how you would answer the question. A professor asked a question, you may not give as detailed an answer. Just a good example of how we can use labels in Zoom. The leaderboard is literally a sort of a back-end way to be able to see the leaderboard and to see exactly where people are, and you can search for a particular person, things like that. That's what that's about with the gamification. All right, you're all doing very well. We only got a couple more left. I really want to get to your questions, and thank you to our longer term users who are hanging out, who have asked questions. We really appreciate it. But hopefully this is helpful to you guys as well, that you might have missed a couple of these little things along the way. You're like, I wonder what that was about. So Zoom areas, while we're here. So Zoom area is a collection of Zoom meetings. And so the reason that we do this is that particularly for larger events where you might have more than 1,000 people, or a need for more meetings than just one Zoom meeting, we bundle them together so that we can say a main stage, as an example, is my area. And we think of that like a stadium or something, where it's a huge stadium and then you have sections within it. And there's sections, and those sections are Zoom meetings. We call them Zoom rooms. So that's a room, and then you have an area. So every Zoom room has to sit within an area. That's how they're created. So the very first thing that you need is a Zoom area. And so we're going to create one. I'm just going to call it main stage. I just hit enter on that, but you can go back and you'll see there's a couple of options there, and they're advanced features that Blue goes into in the other walkthrough. But what the default is all you need to be able to get this going. What this just did is it created my area. I kind of hit enter as I was hitting main stage. So my area is called main stage, and what's happened is it's gone and created a Zoom meeting. And so you can see here one Zoom meeting. And now I'm ready to go. I've got this area and I've got a Zoom meeting. So what I'm just going to do quickly is I'm just going to jump back to the dashboard quickly, and I'm going to make this main stage button. So now this is the little icon that's there. This is the text of what the button is. And I'm going to say I want it to join an area. So I could say it can be a link off to any other page, but no, I want it to join an area. And now I've got my main stage button there. Choosing that, I'm saving, and now this button is going to update, and now that's how we get people in, and this is how you got into this meeting. You clicked on the button and it launched Zoom. And you remember that you didn't have to be logged into Zoom, you didn't have to enter any information, all of that just worked all seamlessly. And that's a key value of ours, is that none of our hosts, none of our admins, and definitely none of our attendees have to log into Zoom or put passwords in or do any of that. They just get in. Miriam's very happy. So, yes, we're proud of that. Hopefully Zoom doesn't cut us off from doing that at some point, but it's working very nicely and still all very secure. So just to talk about that very briefly, if you were to go into, you know how you can see at the top of this meeting, you can see there's the green checkbox, and you can the shield, and you can click that, and you can get the meeting ID and the password, and you could send that to whoever you want. What would happen is when they went to join the meeting, it would go to a Zoom registration page. They would enter that in, and then it would say, the organizer of this meeting has to manually approve your registration, and they would get nowhere. So you can only join these meetings if you're an attendee on the dashboard and going through it that way. They can't share the link and get people in. All right, so I've now got my button set up. I'm happy with that. I am just going to continue so that I don't forget, I'm going to step through these other things. So we were on the Zoom area, we created one, we created a room. Then our Zoom attendance is a really new feature, and this is where we can dive into who was at your event exactly when, and you can start looking at a particular window. And we've built this out specifically that's very useful for enrollment events, particularly where you're doing a pitch, and you've done a pitch at a particular time, and you want to know exactly who was there, and also it'll conversely be telling you who wasn't there, right? So you're able to actually take that data and say, here's the 10 people that were there, and you'll say, I want to tag them in the attendees to say that they were there for the pitch, as an example. And now you can send out some emails that one is going to the people that saw the pitch, and you could set up another email for the people that missed it. And then you can target those groups. There's some highly complex things in this. It's a very cool feature, and we're really excited about being able to see that. So you can see when people left and when people joined, and the total number of attendees in that graph. So that's attendance. We'll just have a quick look at production, which is the emoji page. If you happen to see TVE, you might have seen how there was emojis flying up on the screen behind Blue and Barry. So they were when people were clicking the buttons on the dashboard, the emoji buttons on the dashboard. This is sort of the back end way to be able to get a page with the emojis on it. So there's a few different ways. There's some production techniques that you can use to get this into the whole. You can imagine that the studio at Blue's amazing studio can do a lot of things that make overlaying those emojis on top of everything else, sort of this complex production gear that they need to make that happen. But for most people that might just want to have a TV with the emojis flying on it behind them, you can, you're looking at this page and it's really got nothing on it because it's just a white page, but you could upload your event logo as an example, as a background, put that on this screen, and then have emojis flying up over the top of a logo. It's just a really cool feature. So that's emojis. And then the image waterfall is the page we were talking about where people uploaded their images, and now you just want to have a page where you can just see all the images floating up. Once again, perfect for if you just had a TV in your set behind you and you had people's faces and things floating up. You just open this page and you'll see all the approved images flying up, and you've got a little bit of customization of the delay between each one and all the columns. So that's what image waterfall is. All right. Well done, everyone. You hung around to the bottom of the list on the menu. So all we're going to do now is I just want to show you how to get Zoom going, and then we're done for this little walkthrough, and then we'll get to your questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Zoom areas where we were, main stage, and I can do it right from here. So I just want to explain quickly. There is open area and there's open room. What happens here is when you hit open room, that tells Obvio, hey, get all Zoom ready because I'm about to start Zoom, right? Open area is specifically about letting people into your Zoom meeting. So what this is particularly helpful for is that you can open the room and you can start it and have Zoom started. You can do all of your checks. It's kind of our waiting room, right? Is when the area is not open. We like this better than pushing people through to a Zoom waiting room, although you could do that. What this does is it brings up an offline, Zoom offline page that you can customize. And so when you customize that, you can say, hey, we're going to open the doors at 9:30 a.m. And what happens there is that your attendees sit on that offline page, and it's sitting in the background checking if the area is open. And as soon as it opens, it pushes them through into Zoom. And so the people don't have to refresh or hit the button again. It'll just automatically let them in. And so that's what happens when you open area. But the way to get Zoom going is literally just open rooms, and then you hit start. Now, actually, if I do, it gave me that message because I was outside of the window, that I said that my event was going to run. But we should be okay. I must have set the time wrong, but it's okay. It's still going to launch Zoom. And so that button is launching Zoom as the host. And you're not going to see it. What I can see is that I have a whole new meeting that's just launched. And it's Zoom and I'm the host. And it's a full enterprise version of Zoom. And all of those extra features that we were talking about, where you have full 1080p HD video, you have cloud recording, unlimited cloud recording. You have you're the host, and you have 100 breakout rooms and things like that. So it's all of the standard. There's nothing cut down about it. It's the standard Zoom and enterprise version. And so that brought me in as my name, and I'm the host. And now you can have other people join. And then if you open the area, then all of your attendees could join as well. I can just show you, if we go back to Homer. So this is logged in as Homer. And I didn't refresh this page, by the way. It's automatically updated. So this updated without having for anyone to refresh. So if you need to make a last minute change, it takes about a minute, and then you'll know that everyone has the updated information. So you make those last minute changes, or you enable a button, for a particular time, things like that. So if you click, we're going to get the offline message. There's just going to be a default offline. So yeah, main stage currently offline. And as I said, you can totally customize this page. If I had the area online. I opened the area and the room was open and the Zoom meeting was open. All that would happen here is they'd go straight through to Zoom and it would launch into Zoom and they'd be named as the attendee. It would say Homer Simpson in Zoom and away we go. No logins, no nothing. You just, obviously if they don't have Zoom installed, it'll ask them to install Zoom and do that process. But who doesn't have Zoom installed now? Not many. All right. So we kind of got to the end, right? So I encourage you to do exactly that process. And say you've got a family Zoom meeting. You're just like, hey everyone, I just want to play around with this. Can we do our little family get together on this new platform? And then play around with it and by all means do that. So you can have unlimited events, unlimited duration. You just go for it. All right.